Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Bat Châtillon 12 ton. It's the Tier 8 French light tank. It's located on the south spawn of Cliff and it's under the command of D-Tronics UK. And he's in Salty Jedi Alliance. But this video is not about him. No, I'm afraid not. It's about some of his teammates and what actually happens. So what we're going to do is we'll watch as D-Tronics gets a little way up the hill. Oh, almost dies in the process. And then you're going to see a real nuisance make himself, well, ruin the game for some of the other players. Okay, well, we're just going to stop here and we'll let D-Tronics go up the hill towards the cliff top. No, the person we're going to be following for this game is going to be the T71DA dontdoitkillen. There you are. See, he's setting up a little nest for himself, knocking over the trees up in this area where the tank destroyers normally go. And, well, a tank destroyer's turned up. It's a Scorpion G. Now, we're hearing all the what's going on up the hill. D-Tronics is actually trying to climb up on top of the hill. And the Scorpion G's just got a shot into one of the defenders up here. And here comes one of the contestants for the trolling, I'm afraid. Yes, it's expertvili. And he's going to get trolled by this T71 for the entire game. And, well, the T71 gets fired on by expertvili, who then tries to shove him off the top. Not very nice thing to do. Pushes him into that little corner. And, of course, yep, he's going to slide down the cliff. So he's not very happy about that. He's lost some hit points in the process. And there was no reason for him to get hit. Well, the T71's not going to take that lying down. You see, he's been trolled by that tank destroyer. So he's coming straight back to get some revenge. And you can see that the SU-152 has set himself up in the bush now. And he's actually going to get some kills during this game. But the T71DA, no, he's going to spend the rest of his time in this game annoying these players. Okay, the SU-152 just fired up at the hill. And you can see the T71, he's just making himself a complete nuisance. And the SU-152 is trying to push him out the way. But remember, it was the SU-152 who pushed the T71 off the cliff first and fired on him and made him lose hit points. He's lost 11% of his health by being shoved off the cliff. Now, the SU-152 does have a platoon teammate, and he's in a Sturmil 87 Romo 87. He's a little further away. You can just see him over there. And you can see that expertvili just got a shot into the Centurion, I believe. Or at least it may have been him, or it may have been the Scorpion. But we know the SU-152 does get some kills. And despite what's going on, yes, the T71 will not give up on this. He feels that he's been slighted by the SU-152, and so he has to keep trolling him. And the SU-152 gets a kill, wipes out the Centurion 1. But even though that's going on, this T71, instead of going off and spotting, has decided to keep trolling these tank destroyers. And now the Sturmil, the platoon mates of expertvili's turned up. And so they're probably in communication, these two tank destroyers. And now they're going to try and push the T71 away and drive him off. That's D-Tronics dying, I'm afraid. He's died off near the hilltop. But despite what the Sturmil tries to do, the T71 won't go away. And he's back to trolling expertvili. Now I have to say, as an objective viewer, I would say that expertvili has a lot to blame for all the treatment he's getting, because after all, he did come up the hill, shoot the T71 and then push him off the cliff to start with. If he hadn't have done that, I don't think this T71 would have minded anyone. I think he would have stayed at the back there and just sat there not doing anything, not even spotting. And of course the team would have been upset that he wasn't spotting, but it's not as if he was harming anyone in that position. He just wasn't doing his job. But these two tank destroyers, they're determined to force him out of the nest and get him to go away and do some spotting for them. But of course he's determined to troll the SU-152 for attacking him. And T71's now lost a number of hit points because he got hit by one of the enemy tanks. The Stuart Mill's in a pretty bad state as well. And whilst these three tanks are distracted, they're not actually helping the team. But it turns out the team is quite good because they've actually got two tanks up on the enemy. And I think D-Tronics saw this and wanted to report it so somebody could do something about it afterwards. Because I think all of these players need to cool their heels for a little while with a ban, because after all they're not helping anyone as long as they're acting as they are. They're acting like Muppets. And you can see the Stuart Mill, he's taken up a position which is a bit open and he just got hit by the enemy. This position is under fire from the enemy tanks, and the SU-152 fires again on the T71, doesn't do any damage, but the Stuart Mill explodes. He was taken out by the enemy T71 CMCD, who's over there somewhere. So that's not very helpful, but yep, the T71 won't go away, and the SU-152 keeps trying to shove him away and it's just not working. Ideally, the SU-152 would leave him alone and get on with the business of killing the enemy. But every time he tries to, the T71 comes back and starts nudging him. And of course that's very frustrating. Well, the SU-152 decided to push his dead teammate so that he's a bit of a barrier against enemy fire. And the T71 decided to help out. And they're shoving him up against the edge, that's it. And the SU-152, because it's got a lot of power, has been able to push the T71 back. He can't shove him, but what he can do is keep nudging him like that, which is annoying him. The SU-152 can't aim at the enemy if his rescue keeps getting big every time he gets pushed. He's getting mightily upset, this SU-152, but I have to say I think it's his own fault. If he hadn't fired on the T71 he wouldn't be acting like an asshat. And you can see the Scorpion G just sitting at the back watching all this going on and think to himself, why am I in this team? Why? I think he's getting fed up as well. If anything, all of these guys need to take a chill pill, go off and play somewhere else on the map. The rest of the team, well, unfortunately, the enemy has seemed to recover. They've all got the same number of kills now. And despite the SU-152 trying to get some damage in, he can't because, yep, that T71 won't leave him alone. And now's the enemies firing at them as well. Yep, shells are coming in. They're hitting the ground nearby them. There's one. And another. So they're under fire. But it's not persuading the T71 to go elsewhere. No, he's determined to make life difficult for expertvili. Well, an enemy tank's come in sight. It's a King Tiger C. And despite the fact that the SU-152 is trying to play the game, the T71 won't let up. The Scorpion G's had enough. He's decided he's going to actually move. And there we go. He's got a fascination for the butt of that tank. He's sniffing a butt as much as he can. An extreme butt fetish there. And expertvili just killed the T71 CMCD, who killed his teammate. So I would say, if I was, an objective observer, I'd say both these players need to be banned. The team is now up on the enemy again. There are 3 tanks up. There's only 4 left on the enemy team. And, well, the SU-152 has decided that he wants to move off and try and help his team because he's not getting anywhere here. So he's decided to drive over towards the last remaining enemies. But will the T71 let him? No, of course not. He's being a troll. And this is not going unnoticed by the other team members. They do know what's going on. They've seen the messages in chat. Despite being repeatedly told to go away and do some spotting, this T71 just wants to do some trolling. There's only 2 enemies left now. Even the AMX-50 is saying he's a bit of a dumbass. Well, I think that is the case. The last remaining enemy is the enemy Arty, the S-51. But everyone's closing in on his position and he's been wiped out. And that's the end of the game. Here's the end of battle results for that battle. D-Tronics, unfortunately he didn't get much damage, but he did do some spotting for his team, and so he did pick up a spotter badge for at least 1,000 hit points for spotting done by him. And we can see that he actually picked up only 168 hit points of damage himself, 455 base XP, which is not so bad. And if we look at his details, we can see that he did do 1,234 hit points of spotting. Not bad. Let's have a look at what actually happened to that T71. There he is. Dontdoitkillen is the name of the troll. He didn't do any damage to the enemy whatsoever. He did receive a hit from one of the enemy tanks, but no spotting. And then let's have a look at the tanky troll, the SU-152, the guy who fired on him right at the start, shoved him off the cliff and made him lose some hit points. Well, he did do some damage to the enemy, 957 hit points of damage, 2 kills, and he actually earned 535 base experience points. And the Stuart Mill, the teammate, the platoon mate of that SU-152, he didn't do any damage at all. He only got 279 base XP. So really, to be honest, if there was a troll in this game, and I think there are 2 of them, it turns out it's expertvili, because he was the one who started it off by coming up and shooting the T71 and then shoving him off the cliff. And then the T71 proved what a muppet he was by going up and annoying the SU-152 for the rest of the game. And as a result, he not only cost himself any damage on the enemy, but he also cost his team as well. Because if he had been a spotter, he probably would have earned a fair bit of credits and XP, and he probably would have helped his teammates as well. But he didn't. So Wargaming, if you're watching, this is EU server, dontdoitkillen and expertvili. Both deserve a ban, and I think that's the best thing you can do for these 2, because they are trolls. Thanks for watching.